Welcome, Natasha Harris.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me to come and have a great chat with you today.
Oh, you're so welcome. You're so welcome. So I am particularly interested, sorry, he was getting himself comfy on my chair. I'm particularly interested to talk to you, Natasha, because as you may, if you've read anything that I've ever written, as you may be aware, I am utterly anti woo-woo coaches. And yet we have here a wonderful combination of a really pragmatic, action-based coach and a whole bunch of really interesting woo-woo stuff.
Yeah, some really off-the-scale woo-woo stuff.
Absolutely. So, and it's something that I don't know anything about at all. And we haven't had the opportunity to kind of go into detail, but I have written down ancient wisdom of Akashic Records. Now, what on earth does that mean?
That's a very, very good question. So I'll explain the Akashic Records are vast, right? But I will explain it really briefly. Hopefully it will resonate with people and people watching. So the Akashic Records are like an energetic database of all our past choices, decisions, thoughts, actions, everything we've ever done. So if we think about everything being energy, and this is the bit that we can prove with science, right? Everything is energy. Right, so this is where I can get solid in the foundations of it and not make it too woo. I can bring it back down to earth, which is what I always love to do. So if we think of everything as energy, we've now shown that we cannot destroy energy, but we can transform it. So we can go from emotions of sadness to joy, and we can transform how we're feeling and thinking, and we can shift our experience as well from one of lack to one of abundance. So we know we can shift the energetic resonance, but if we can't destroy energy, then it has to be somewhere. And so that's what they say is in the fifth dimensional realm, which is the energetic realm, and it's stored in the Akashic record. So we each have an Akashic record. And we can think about if everything we do, think and feel and say, it has an energetic resonance, that's an awful lot of information on the energetic realm that's stored in it, right? So it's pretty vast. So what we also say about the Akashic records is that it came into existence the moment our soul came into existence. So if we think of ourselves also as being energetic beings, that is our soul, our higher self. On
a very pragmatic level, our bodies and the cells within our bodies are energy.
Exactly. So it's all of that that's stored. And again, so when we pass from this lifetime, where does that energy go? Again, it gets transformed. And that's where, from where I stand in the Akashic Record stand, is this belief that we get transformed into perhaps another life. So it's absolutely fascinating, because what it taps into is this idea and this energy of who we are at that energetic level, of who we are at soul level. And it is so enlightening, because it just helps us to make sense of why some things are easy. When we step into flow in certain areas, the things just happen for us. And when we are not taking action that's aligned to who we are, things feel hard, they feel sticky, they feel resistant, because we're shoulding ourselves into what we should do. So that's a very brief overview and description of the Akashic Records.
I've got a wonderful resource. I've got a pragmatic question.
Yes.
Where are they stored?
So if we think about, again, I think we know about 10 dimensions that scientists have now shown. I think there are probably a lot more that we're getting to grips with and, beginning to understand. So the Akashic records sit in the fifth dimensional realm, which is the energetic dimension.
Right.
We're in the third dimension. Thought and feeling are in the fourth dimension, and the Akashic records and energy is in the fifth.
Okay, I can go with that. Fifth down.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we had a really brief discussion about before we pressed go was about repeating patterns of behaviour that people demonstrate. Talk to me about repeating patterns of behaviour.
Yeah, we're all doing those, right?
Absolutely.
We know it. We kind of, go on this cycle of, either attracting the same kinds of relationships into our lives. Somebody was saying to me the other day that they just continuously attracting the same bosses into their, female bosses into their experience. And why is that happening? But also in business, around lack of money, lack of clients that we keep attracting, we are in these repeating patterns of behavior. And so for me, what we're drawing on is the energetic resonance of that pattern. So it could be that we are, attracting lack into our lives because we're repeating this energetic pattern, because I see everything as energy. But then also what I see is how that plays out in the real world, because that's our results. That's how we can see those patterns playing out, because it's actually showing up in our experience, which is what we're experiencing right here, right now. So that's where I love to play between those two things. It's like how we can look at the energy of things, how they're showing up in our reality today, and then how we can then transform it and shift it and change it. And the Akashic Records, when we tap into that, show us those repeating patterns, but they show us the energetic resonance of it and where we've drawn that from, be that past life or present life, past experiences. And then, then we can see quite clearly how that energetic resonance is showing up today. We can clear it through energy work. And then we can start to take new and different action. It shines a light on us to say, and you know what? It's always where we're playing out these patterns is in the minutiae.
Of course.
It's in the really tiny detail that we're a little bit oblivious to. We're like, these massive things keep showing up in my life. I keep trying to change this massive thing. But actually what we need to do is recognize where we're playing that pattern out in how we just go about our day-to-day actions, like how we get up in the morning. If it's about lack and we get up in the morning and we're like, oh, this is a really, unnourishing breakfast. And I'm like, if we just change these little things and we place ourselves into a space of abundance, then we can really shift our experience and our results.
Outcomes. It's all about the outcomes.
All about the outcomes. If our life's not changing, we're not changing. Whether you look at that from an energetic point of view, I just translate that into energy, or whether you look at that as an action, but an action has energy. So
absolutely. And at the end of the day, what we're talking here is pragmatic experience. So however this energy manifests itself, the way that we see that is in our pragmatic experience, which kind of takes this woo-woo stuff and brings it down to something that I'm comfortable with. Something I'm comfortable with.
Good. I love doing.
I'm so no, that's not true. I was going to say I'm so allergic to people who are woo-woo coaches. It's not true. What I find that's not true at all, actually. What I find frustrating is when you see coaches trying to build businesses by talking about just stuff that your average person simply cannot access. It's so far, they talk about this, and nobody's buying this. That's not, people buy outcomes. And that's why I'm quite interested in what you do, because you've got this. And let's make no mistake, coaching is about this. That's what coaching is about.
Absolutely.
But it's not what business development's about.
No, not at all. And so that's the bit I really, I love doing, is about bringing that, and making it digestible, make it understandable, about how we step into a different way of manifesting and creating. Again, manifesting, a bit of a spiritual word, but how we create our results and do it differently. We can, try to think everything into existence. It's just not going to work. And if you think your thinking is bringing something into existence, you will be able to trace back and see the action you've taken that's different and that's new, that's brought about those results. It's not the thinking alone.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's all about the action.
All about the action.
I've written soul light.
Oh, yes. So, we are, again, as energetic beings, we all emit, have a unique, vibrational frequency, if you like, for the want of a better word, from the energetic point of view. But we are all unique and different. And we have to really tap into that uniqueness and what we understand to be what I also call our soul power, our energetic power, like what feels easy for us, what feels in flow for us. And so that when we do that more and more, we kind of, we know it, we see it in people who emit this light from them. They're like, you like look at them and you're like, oh, I want a bit more of that. Like, because they shine. Yeah. They shine, but they're doing what's aligned to them. They're doing what makes them feel alive. And we've kind of forgotten that in today's society. We've forgotten how to connect back with who we truly are, what we truly want, because we want it, not because society says we want it, culture says we want it, religion, spirituality says we should be like this, purely because we want to create something. We can have it if we take action that's aligned to who we are in order to get it.
Yeah, you used an interesting phrase there that is kind of, for me, it's like a red flag word. The minute people start talking about what they should do, it's like, says who?
Because says everyone else, not you.
Well, absolutely. And the thing about the should part is it's almost giving responsibility away.
Oh, I've just got goosebumps. Yes, responsibility is key.
Yeah. So go on, tell me a bit more about responsibility and taking.
Yeah. Well, we give away a lot of our power by absolving our responsibility. We need to do this. We should do this. And we forget that we're the powerful creators of our own experience. Everything we do is creating a result out in our experience. And to say that anyone is doing anything to us, or, there are things that get in the way. We've got blocks, we've got, limitations, all these limiting beliefs, around money, around everything that we've kind of picked up, put in our backpack, lugging around through life. We've put all these things there, and we need to unpack those. But we are responsible for unpacking that. We are responsible for shifting how we do things in order to create new and different results in our lives, and to create and manifest this abundance, because we're all abundant beings. No one is stopping us or turning off the tap or saying you can't have this except us.
Absolutely. You said something then. Sorry, I was listening to you and thinking at the same time, don't forget that she just said this and ask her about it, and now I've forgotten. It'll come back to me. Back to me.
No problem.
What did you say? Oh, yeah, you were talking about we create our own experience. And quote jumped into my head. That business about we don't see the world as it is. We see it as we are. And I think that once you get your head around the fact that that is absolutely true, that means that if you change how you are, you can change your experience. And I think it's probably, and I appreciate that we're talking to coaches, in coaching.
We get this, right? I hope so.
You understand that, how you choose to see. I'm going to use the word see. I was quite carefully kind of picking through some words there. Let's use the word see. How you choose to see the world directly impacts the experience that you have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, we've been fed a lot of stuff about how the world works that simply isn't true. We've brought that through generations, and there's very good reasons why we've done that. So there's no right and wrong. It's just that now, especially now, we have an opportunity to start seeing the world through very, very different eyes, and how we can start to reclaim some of the power and taking responsibility for ourselves rather than giving it away to other people. other kind of social, structures that just don't work in today's world anymore. We've just been doing, this is a repeating pattern. We're just doing the same old because we've been doing it for hundreds of years, and our systems and our everything is just continuing with that. And we need to break free of that. And that's how we truly reclaim our power. That's how we truly take responsibility for ourselves again. And this is what I love to do.
That's what you do. Okay, so you said something there, and you got my antennas twitching. You said there are some things that we've done for centuries. Can you give me an example of something?
Yeah, well, our political system, our education system, I don't want to get into all of that stuff, but if we think about even just our schooling, it's not geared to where we're going in the world. It's still based on 50 years ago, 100 years ago, on how the world worked then. And so now we really need these thought leaders, these people to stand up who've got these brilliant, beautiful ideas on how to do things differently in the world and take a real stand for it, not to fit, not let lack of confidence get in their way, not let oh, I'm not sure if I've got the answers. We need people now to really stand in their soul light, which is what we were talking about a minute before, and really allow themselves to start getting out there and start being the change that we need in the world for the positive good to save our planet.
That's really interesting that you picked education, because I'm just going to talk about me for a second, and I know this isn't about me. In November 2016, I did a TEDx talk about the fact that I think we're teaching the wrong things in schools.
Oh, there you go.
And about the fact that the education system that we had was created during the Industrial Revolution because mill owners needed workers. And they needed workers with a lot of right brain skills, the ability to do as you're told, the ability to be logical, the ability to add up and count, and all of the structured, logic-based stuff. And as the world has turned over the last 250 years, what we teach hasn't really changed. We teach people to read, we teach them to write, we teach them to add up, and we teach them how to fit into our view of society, whichever country we live in. And we teach them how to be good employees in a world that doesn't work like that anymore.
No. And to work hard to get what you want.
Yes.
That's, if you work hard, you'll get good grades, you'll get a good job. I don't believe in this whole working hard philosophy, to be honest. Since I've set up my business and since I've, started to really do the things that I love doing, and, instead of doing more, I do less, but what I do is aligned to who I am. And I have a really, beautiful life where I'm not working hard. Sometimes I think, oh, that's like, oh, I'm only doing 4 days, or, oh, I'm going to take tomorrow off because I can.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of all of it, isn't it? That's why we do it. So that's
why we do it. But we don't truly believe that we can have it. We do it, but we don't truly believe that we are worthy of having it. And that's the difference, because we're told that actually to work less is lazy. It's not good. What will people think? And all of this kind of stuff. But our education system needs to shift. I love it. We'll pick that. There's something I feel quite strongly about.
Yeah, something that I feel very strongly about. But anyway. So talk to me about abundance.
Okay. Well, that's a start with that.
You've got a good 10 minutes. Go for your life.
Go for my life. So my belief is that we are all abundant beings. That
What does that mean?
So that we can have anything that we want. That that we don't. There is no lack other than the lack that we perceive, and again, through limiting beliefs, through the stuff that we're lugging around with us, we can create what we want. And because we say we want something, we can create it. We just need to take the action that's there. If we say we want to create $1 billion business, we can. We just got to take the right steps. Not saying that's what everyone wants, but if we want to have freedom, we have to, when we're stuck in lack and limitation and not being able to have a business that can pay the bills, that's not freedom.
No.
That's not freedom. So we can say on the outward, I want freedom. For me, that's one of my biggest values. I want freedom. But if everything we do on a day-to-day basis doesn't resonate to freedom, we will never be able to create it.
Okay, so that's really interesting. So what resonates to freedom?
So for everyone, of course, freedom is different. So the word freedom will give different emotions to everyone. So for me, freedom is about freedom of time, freedom to travel, freedom to work from where I want, freedom to choose who my clients I work with are, because I love them. You know, freedom to be able to buy what I want to buy. I'm not a consumer. I'm really not like, oh, I just want stuff for the sake of it. I want to buy beautifully handmade products that have been made with love. Now, they just generally are ethically produced. They generally still, for now, come with a bit of a higher price tag. But if I'm in lack and limitation, I won't be able to afford those things. So that's abundance. You know, it's like having an abundant mindset. It's because I want to choose what I want to buy. I want to support small businesses. I want to support people who are out there doing incredible things around the world. And I want to give my money to that. So in order to do that and support that, I have to have a business that supports the freedom that I want financially.
You're speaking my language, lady.
Not just the woo-woo.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's one of the reasons that I'm very interested in talking to you, because from Akashic Records through to let's be really practical. If this is what you want, this is what you've got to do.
Yeah.
That's well, it covers the whole spectrum, doesn't it? From utterly woo-woo to utterly pragmatic.
Yeah.
So from soup to nuts, really.
Yeah.
So if you're a coach and you're watching this and you're thinking, okay, so how does that work for me? How do you work with your clients? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I work in a couple of different ways, but mainly for when I'm working with coaches who want to expand their business to having something that they love to do and wake up in the morning excited and jumping out of bed, is really to start off with the Akashic work. What I found with the Akashic work, when we tap into the wisdom, the ancient wisdom, because this has been around for centuries as well. You know, it's referred, I'm not religious by any stretch of the imagination, but it is referred to in the Bible as the book of life. So this is a wisdom, this is a knowledge that has been around for many, many centuries. So we know it. So we can look at the Akashic records, our own unique Akashic record, and we can see what are our gifts, what we can shine in. So that gives us a clue in terms of how we can take action that's aligned to who we are.
Okay, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
How does one look at an Akashic record?
Right. So this is where it gets a bit woo. It is intuitive.
Great.
It is very intuitive. I ask specific questions, I intuit answers, and I gather information that builds a kind of energetic picture for me, and I see things, and I use a dowsing rod to get information and access information. So that's where it gets a little bit. So it's a bit like if you. So I do energy healing. So I don't know if you've ever had Reiki or any kind of hands-on healing. It's if you put it down to that level, it's not dissimilar. So when I'm working hands-on with a client, I will be over a body part and I will pick up energy. I will get a sense, I will visualize something. I'll be like, oh, there's something going on here. And then when I communicate that to the client and say, well, what's that about? They can then bring that into what's going on for them now, here, today. And then they can make sense of it. It's not just, it's like, oh, I picked up this message that you need to go do this. And I don't know what that means. I'm like, no, I don't know either. So they can bring that into their experience today. And then they can say, well, this is how this is showing up for me. And then how can we change it? So it's very similar to that. You're just picking up on an energetic field.
So does that mean that all your work is done face to face?
No, actually. Well, now we've gone online. 100% of my work is online, which is great because I can pick up that energy regardless of time and space. The other thing that we've proven with science is that time and space don't matter when we affect an atom that's in one location. The other particle of that atom will respond instantaneously and immediately, regardless of space and time. So it doesn't matter where we are. We don't have to be face to face, and that's the beauty of it.
There's a fantastic book called The Biology of Belief.
I think one of them I haven't read.
What's his name? Can't think of his name. It'll come to me. And it's about exactly that. He was a medical doctor training doctors when he started to discover this whole thing about energy and about separating bits of the same thing, and it didn't make any difference whether they were an inch apart or 500 miles apart. It didn't make any difference. What's his name? It just came to me then. I'll remember, or in the comments underneath.
Yes, I'd like to know who that is as well.
Huge.
But yeah, so we, there's lots of things that, that science is proving. So what we do is I start with, obviously, with my clients working on the Akashic Records information, because what I found with my clients, and when I was just doing coaching before, that element of things would take us quite a few sessions to unravel, to discover what people loved, and well, why are you doing things this way? Why are you doing it that way? What feels easier about that? So I would coach people around that, and that picture would emerge. What's so beautiful about this is we get this information like in the first session.
Wait, I've got another question. Sorry, I keep jumping.
No,
it's really interesting. So my next question is, how did you find this? What was happening that you suddenly went, oh, I know, let's use the ancient wisdom of Akashic Records?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in like things just come into our vicinity when we most need them. So by education and by my first 10 years in a career, I was an IT manager. I was an IT programmer. I was a project manager, but scaling out big IT projects to a big corporation. So that's my kind of background. And then there was one day where I kind of woke up and I'm just like, I cannot be doing this for the next 35 years. I will die if I will wither, and like this cannot be what my life looks like. So I went off and I traveled, and I realized actually two other things that were previous to that, but I'd kind of forgotten. The environment and conservation were a huge part of what I felt really passionate about. So I worked in the charity sector for a number of years, and then I came across Reiki and energy healing, and it was something I was not really familiar. I must have heard the word somewhere, and I must have picked up a leaflet maybe in my yoga center, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, I'll go and try that out. That sounds really interesting. No clue what that's about. And I remember sitting there going, whoa, this is all a bit weird. Like, what's going on? But I felt it. There was just something in me that was just like, I know this is real. This whole energy thing, it's real. And at the end of that weekend, the teacher just happened to say, I'm running the second module of it in a month's time. If anyone is interested, just let me know at the end. And my hand shot up, and I was a bit like involuntary, and I was a bit like, oh, this is a bit odd. I was like, okay, maybe I should do this. And so that was the beginning of my journey. And then, some years later, and then it was probably about 6 years ago that I started with the Akashic Records. Again, never heard of it. Stumbled across a webinar, thought, well, that sounds a bit interesting. And was like, okay, this blows my mind and takes me to a whole nother level. And of course, then at the end of the webinar, there was an offer, and there was something that, she was offering. And I just couldn't resist. There was just something within me that was like, I have to do it.
Yeah, this is my thing.
This is my thing. And I can't explain it. Like if someone said why, I was like, I don't know. It's just a knowing, just a deeper, bigger sense of this is the work I'm here to do. And I trusted it.
It's like that, haven't we? Where we've just known something.
Yeah.
We've been talking for nearly half an hour.
Oh my goodness.
I know. I say it every week, don't I? Jess has said, it's Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Brilliant.
It's called The Biology of Belief, Unleashing the Power of Consciousness, Matter and Miracles.
Right.
So I know that you wanted to offer something.
Yes. Yes, so thank you for that. And if this resonates with anyone, you know, and they're really curious about a little bit more about the Akashic Records, about who they are at soul level and, you know, their soul gifts, so being able to stand in our soul power. I offer a free little mini reading, which is a soul power reading through the Akashic Records. So I'll pop the link in the comments when we come off here, and it's just a free sign up. I need a bit of information. It's not it's kind of not one of these things, or, you know, I have to actually physically go into your Akashic record. So I am actually doing something in the background, and then I send you some information about it. And I send you a really beautiful guided meditation as well that helps you just to connect with that as well. So there's the reading and then there's the meditation. So I would love to offer that to your group and anyone that resonates and wants to know a little bit more about who they are at soul level and their soul power.
Amazing. Natasha, thank you so much. That's been a hugely enlightening and interesting conversation. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. Thank you so much, Sarah. I'm so glad that, you know, it was enlightening and it was resonant. So I love it.